Well, they've been hanging by ropes from the National Cathedral and the Washington Monument in our nation's capital. Now these daredevil engineers are rappelling down the sides of Oklahoma State's capital. The first step in making long overdue repairs to the nearly century-old building.
It's a side of the Capitol that very few people see, and it's not a job for the faint of heart. Crews from the Chicago-based engineering firm of Weiss, Janney, Elstner Associates, or WJE for short, are conducting up-close visual inspections of Oklahoma's crumbling Capitol 60 feet in the air. The building has been shedding pieces of its limestone facade for the past several years, forcing the placement of barricades outside the south entrance to protect the public from falling masonry. Capitol architect Dwayne Mass says the crews dangling by ropes from the Capitol's roof are making a detailed assessment of the damage to help them develop a plan for fixing the building.
They're identifying broken pieces, spalled pieces, cracked pieces, potentially insecure pieces. They're essentially developing a matrix of everything that is going to require repair or detailed restoration on the exterior of the building.
While their job title may be engineer, Stephen Kelly says they like to think of themselves as something more than that.
We're building doctors, and so what we're doing is we're treating this lovely old building like a patient.
State Capitol Project Manager Trey Thompson says the selection of WJE for this project was based on their extensive resume.
They've done state capitals all over the country. They've done historic buildings all over the world. And so really their name rises to the top when you think of companies that have the ability to diagnose problems with old buildings.
To get to their patient, these building doctors strap themselves into a harness and rappel down the side of the Capitol, taking along an iPad to photograph and record what they find.
We're also going to be removing samples that we can do some testing in our laboratory, and also we're going to be doing some testing on site, mainly to look at things like stain removal, cleaning, biocide treatments for the biological growth that's on the building.
The Capitol faces a multitude of problems. The wiring in most areas of the building is not up to code. The plumbing is on the verge of breaking down, and raw sewage sometimes seeps up in the basement. But the most urgent need is to stop the continued deterioration of the limestone caused by Oklahoma's seasonal weather swings.
It doesn't get as cold as it does in Chicago, but what you do get is you get a lot of this freezing and thawing, which is extremely challenging for any building facade.
The exterior was further damaged when maintenance crews sandblasted the limestone in the 70s in an effort to clean it.
Sandblasting is not something that is recommended at all. It cleans actually quite well with cleaners, specific cleaners and water, but it was sandblasted, and then when they replaced the mortar, they used too hard a mortar. There's a rule in historic masonry that the mortar is always softer than the stone.
Mass says the limestone can be replaced, but hopes they won't have to resort to that.
We've identified the quarry, we've identified the type, we identified where it came from, and there's also the possibility that if required, we can reach back to that original quarry and get the stone.
Once repairs begin, access to the Capitol will be much more restricted.
You'll see many more barricades. The ways in and out of the building will have to be much more regulated because we're going to engage every inch of the outside.
What all this will cost is still up in the air.
That's one of the things that going through this process will help us to determine. Right now we're ballparking it somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 to $25 million. Obviously we hope it's on the low end of that spectrum, but that's kind of where we estimate it'll be right now.
Crews from WJE will be in Oklahoma for at least another week, rappelling down the other sides of the building as well as the dome. Another company will be selected to do the actual repair work, which is expected to begin in about 6 months and take up to a year and a half to complete.